Type 8 loves justice. The type 8 knows that justice is necessary for true peace. And the 8 has a gift for feeling into power imbalances. The 8 is so focused on who's got the power and the control that they know when that is being distributed unfairly. And justice is about the fair distribution of goods and resources and the fair distribution of responsibility. Who needs to be accountable for something? And the 8s are all about accountability and being direct in that provision of and that lifting up of the sense of accountability. Also, 8s have a zest for life. 8s are wonderful to be around in the sense that they can really energize a situation. They can really amp up a situation, and that sense of intensity is kind of intoxicating. Of course, it's that same intensity which is what gets the type 8 into trouble. Because what the 8 is doing is in this obsession with power, obsession with control. The 8s are so obsessed with not being controlled that they're trying to downplay their weaknesses. In fact, they're pacifying their weaknesses. They're subduing their weaknesses. They're bringing them under submission. And it turns out that our so-called weaknesses are also our very sensitivity to life. And so just like the point 4, the type 4 has recognized that to be vulnerable, to be sensitive, is to be truly alive. That's what brings us into our aliveness. It's that vulnerability that worries the 8. That's the thing that the 8 is saying, no, if I'm vulnerable, then I'll be weak. And so by dampening down their vulnerability, forgetting their vulnerability, the 8s are in effect dampening down their sensitivity to life. Now, in conjunction with this, the 8s then have to amp up the intensity of their expression in order to feel anything. The 8s are intense in order to feel alive. They've numbed themselves so much that they need to have a kind of lust for life. They need to seize life in order to feel alive. It's a bit like an alcoholic who might use drinking in order to numb their pain. They go about, they get totally drunk, and let's say it's a sort of belligerent alcoholic. They can be sort of loud and obnoxious and not even realize their impact on other people. And then they go out after a night of drinking. They might stumble at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. into a greasy diner and dump a bunch of Tabasco sauce onto all of their greasy eggs that they're eating. Why? Because they need that flavor. They need that the hotness of the sauce in order to break through the numbness of their alcohol. They've so desensitized their taste buds that they need the hot sauce to feel anything at all, to taste anything at all. This is in effect a metaphor for how the type 8 structure moves through life. They've so numbed their sensitivity that they need to amp up the intensity in order to break through that numbness, that forgetting of their own limitations. And the forgetting of their natural limits also leads 8 oftentimes into hurting themselves, into kind of overdoing things so much so that they've exhausted themselves or they've really caused themselves pain and suffering. And by the way, 8s don't necessarily mind enacting a big impact on other people to the extent of even causing them pain, because in effect the 8s are saying, look at me, I've been deprived of these things, and 8s tend to like to exact revenge or exact an avenging of these injustices that the 8 feels. And so if that means pain for other people, then so be it. All of this said, 8s remind us of the need for coming forward, the need for setting boundaries, the need for boundaries in the sense of protecting ourselves. The 8s remind us that it's okay to have a sense of protection. And just like the 2s are there watering and fertilizing and nurturing those sprouts, the 8s are the ones building the fences and pulling the weeds and keeping away the birds that might peck at the sprout, or the insects that might eat it away. And so actually there's a line of connection between the 2 and 8 in this respect. But the 8s are enacting the tenderness of protection. And the 8s can be so protective of other people. And in effect, they can actually be very nurturing of other people. And so the 8 reminds all of us to embody those qualities of protection and nurturance.